All right, guys, so we're going to start to look at adding pagination to our application for our property listings. But before we do that, I just want to address the little squiggly lines that Pylint is now giving us for not putting doc strings here, basically comments defining what the method does. And linting can get quite annoying sometimes. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically tell the linter to shut up about stuff like this. So I'm going to go to my settings file. You can do Control Command comma, or just go down to the gear and then settings. And I already have the Python linting.pyargs over here. What I'm going to do is just add to this. I'm going to make sure you put a comma there, and then I'm going to say dash dash errors dash only. Okay, we'll save that, and let's go back, and now those squiggly lines are gone. So let's get into pagination. Now, this documentation here at djangoproject.com, this explains pagination. You want to go down to using paginator in view, and the first thing we need to do is edit some stuff in our method, our index method. We want to add a paginator. So basically we say paginator equals paginator, and we pass in our case, what's going to be our listings. We say how many per page we want, and then we go down here and we get the page from the get request. Because if you're on, let's say, page 2, you're going to have a URL parameter that says page equals 2, and so on, and you need to get that, and then you need to pass that into paginator.getPage. So let's handle that first. So we'll go to our index method here. All right, and then we already have listings equals objects.all. So right underneath it, I'm going to add in a paginator, and we're going to set that equal to paginator, just like it said in the documentation. And we're going to pass in listings, which comes from the database, the variable above, and then the number of listings we want per page. Okay, and I want 6 per page, but just to test things out, I'm going to do 3, okay, because we only have 6 total, and we can't test it if we do 6 per page. So I'm going to say 3 per page. Okay, then we need to create a variable called page and set that to request.get, and then pass in here page, because that's the URL parameter we're looking for. Then we want a variable called paged underscore listings, and set this equal to that paginator value, and we want to say dot get underscore page, and whoops, that should be an underscore, and then we want to pass in page. Okay, now instead of passing listings directly into our context, instead of passing this, we actually want to pass in our paged listings instead. So let's do that. Let's just go right here and say paged underscore listings. All right, so that's the first part. Okay, that takes care of this. Now, I am getting an error saying that paginator doesn't exist, or undefined variable paginator. That's because we actually have to bring this in. So up at the top here, we're going to say from Django.core.paginator. We want to import. I'm actually going to import a couple things here. We're going to import empty page not an integer, and paginator. Okay, and now that paginator should be, once I save, that red line should be gone. All right, so like I said, that's the first part. That takes care of fetching from the database what we need. Now we have to deal with actually displaying it the right way. So if we go back to the documentation, it shows us how to do that, except they're using contacts, we're using listings. But basically we can check to see if there's a previous page. We can put that previous page number or put a link to it. So you see we would go to the URL and then the parameter of page equals and then the previous page number. Down here we can see if there's a next, and then we can make a link going to the next page number. Now you could simply copy this and paste it in, but it's going to look like crap. What we want to do is make it look like this, okay, like Bootstrap's pagination. And if we look at the markup, we have a UL of pagination, class of pagination, and then every list element has a class of page item. Okay, so that's really important to remember. And then every link has a class of page link. And if there's no previous, then we want to have a disabled class. Okay, and whichever one's active, we have an active class. So we're going to kind of combine this and this together so that we can have a nice looking pagination. But just to show you, if I reload this page, we only get three listings. Now this here doesn't work. This is just markup. We haven't added anything dynamic to this. So let's head on over to our template, listings.html, and what you saw there is just this. There's nothing dynamic. It's just HTML. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go. Let's see. Let's first of all do a check to see if there are other pages. For instance, if there's 6 listings total and we put 6 per page, then we don't want anything to show. We don't want any pagination to show. So we want to wrap the whole thing in an if statement. So we'll add our tags here and we'll say if listings, and there's something called has underscore other underscore pages. Okay, so it'll see if there's other pages, and we want to end this down below the UL. So down here, we just want to do an end if, like that. Okay, and I'm just going to tab the UL over. Okay, so that takes care of that part. Now, we want to check to see if there's any previous pages. So let's go, let's see, I'm trying to think if I should just delete all this and yeah, you know what? Let's get rid of all the LIs and we'll just rewrite them. So I just want to check for previous pages. So we're going to do, and pagination it's always, at least in my experience, it's been a pain in the ass. And Django actually makes it pretty easy. It's one of the easier frameworks to deal with pagination in my opinion. So let's say if listings dot has underscore previous. Why do I keep putting a plus for an underscore? So if it has previous, and then let's do an end if. Okay, so if it has previous, then we want to put an li. I want to give it a class of page dash item. They should all have this class, all the li's. And then inside we want an a tag with the class of page dash link. And as far as the href goes, we just want to do, it's going to be the current page, and then we want to add a parameter of page equals, and put in our double curly brace syntax and say listings dot previous, not pervious, previous underscore page number, or under page underscore number. And inside here we could put like the word previous. I'm actually going to put some left facing arrows, so we can do that with the entity of ampersand LAQUO and put a semicolon. Okay, so that'll give us the arrows. Now we actually want to have an else. So right here we're going to say else. Okay, else, then let's say, because remember, this is if there is a previous item, then we want a link to go back to the previous. If there's not, then what I want to do is have a disabled link. So let's say li class of page item, and I'm also going to give it a class of disabled. Okay, and then within here, let's just put an a tag, and we're going to give this a class of page link. So they should all have a class of page link. And I'm actually just going to do a class. I'm not even going to do an href, because remember, there is no previous pages. So I just want to have it like a disabled arrow link. So we'll just put in another LAQUO entity, and that should do it for that. So if I save this and we take a look, let's see if it shows anything. Let's reload. Okay, so this is disabled. Notice there's no pointer. It doesn't do anything because there's no previous. I'm on the first page. So that's that. Now let's move on to all of our links, okay? All of our pages or links to those pages. So after this end if, what we're going to want to do is loop through our page range. So we do this by saying for, and this is all in the documentation that I just showed you. We're just doing it in a way that styles it in with Bootstrap 4. So let's say for I in listings dot paginator dot page underscore range. Okay, so whatever that page range is, and let's put our end for down here. All right, and then we want to do inside here an if. Oops. So we want to do an if listings dot number. Oops. I want to say if listings dot number is equal to that index, and then we'll do an end if. Okay, so if that's true, then let's put an li in here. This is going to be the active link, so I'm going to do li. We're going to have a class of page dash item and also a class of active. Okay, and then inside there, we're going to have a link with the class of page dash link. And as far as the let's see, we're not going to have an href. It's just going to be an a with a class because this is the active page. But in here, we want to put whatever the index is. So we're just going to go like that. All right, and we want an else. So this list, if listings number equals I, we want an else to this. So right here, let's put in else. Okay. And then we're going to put an li class of page item. Okay, no active. We only want the active if this is true, if it's on the current page. Otherwise, we just want page item. We want a with the class of page dash link. And as far as the href, it's going to have a page query, and it's going to go to whatever the value of I is, like that. And then inside here, we're going to have I as well. All right, so let's save that and see what we get. Okay, so I'm going to reload, and now we get 1 and 2. And as you can see, 1 is the active. If I go to 2, let's see, let's make sure these are different. Yep, so we can see 18 Jefferson Lane, which is the latest. Or is it? Actually, we didn't even do it by date, did we? We'll fix that in a minute, but yeah, now we can go to the second page. Notice the parameter. So it's question mark page equals 2. All right, and we can go previous. So now that there is a previous, we can actually hit that, and it brings us back to 1. So this is working perfectly. The only thing we need now is the next. Okay, if there's a next or not, because right now we're on 1, so there should be a next button here to go to 2. So let's finish up and do that. So let's see, we have a lot of ifs here. Let me just make sure that we're in the right place. So end if, let's see, so we want to be outside of the end for. Yeah, we want to go right off to the end for, and just like we did with the above, we did if, what do we say? We said if listings dot has previous. So we want to do the same with next. So actually what I'm going to do is copy that and the else. We want to do the same thing with the next. So right under the end for, I'm going to paste that in, and I'm going to change this to if it has next. Okay, if it has next, then we want to display a list item with page item. We want an A tag with the class of page link, and instead of doing listings.previous page number, we want to do next page number. Okay, and that should do it for that, except I want the arrows to face the other way, so we just want to change the L to an R. Okay, and then at the same time, if it's disabled, or if the if has next is false, meaning there is no next page, then we want a disabled link, but we want it to be a right arrow, so we want to just change that to an R. And that should do it. Let's save. Let's go back and reload. Okay, so now we're on page 1, so if I click the next arrow, it brings us to page 2. And now it's disabled because there's no more pages to go to. I can go back, and now I can't go back because we're on page 1, and we can of course switch. And if the more we have, the more listings we have, this should grow with it. And just to prove that, let's go ahead and let's change the initial number of listings to 2, and that should give us an extra page. So I'll change that to 2. We'll go back and reload, and now we have 3 down here. Okay, so we can page through all of them, all 3. All right, so we know that that's working. That's good. Now I'm just going to change this to 6 because that's what I actually want. And if I save, now the pagination should go away. If I reload, there's no pagination because there's 6 total. If I add another one, if I add a 7th listing, then we're going to see the pagination down here. All right, now, like I said, I wanted to make sure that we order these by date. So what we can do is go back to our view and go to our index method right here. And instead of just doing .all, we can do .order_by, and we can pass in a value. Okay, I want to pass in list date, but I want it to be descending. So I'm going to do minus. I'm going to put a hyphen here, list_date. Okay, so let's save that. And let's check it out if we reload. Now the earliest should be first. Okay, now we really can't tell because they're all 3 days, 3 hours because we added them all at the same time. But I know that Lexington was the last one that I added, so that's what I want. The most recent should be the first one here. Okay, now one other thing that I want to do is make sure that if they're not published in the back end in the admin area, that they don't show. If I go ahead and where is it? Essex Circle, that's the Lexington one. So I'm going to unpublish this and save. And if I go to the front end and I reload, it's still there. So we need to add another condition. And to do that, we can just easily chain that on, and we do that with filter. If we want to filter something out, and then we can put the field that we want. So I'm going to say if is published. Okay, so this is just whatever the name of the model field is, and we want to say is equal to true. So now it shouldn't show anything where it should only show if is published is true. Anything that's false should not show. So let's go back and reload, and now you can see the Lexington house does not show. Okay, if I go back and publish it and save and reload, now it shows. So that's exactly what I wanted to do. All right, guys, so that's going to be it for this video, and I will see you in the next one.